It's the art of being consistent. It's the art of picking up a niche and saying, you know what? I'm going to do this every single day for the rest of my life. Fuck what else is going on in my life. Yo, my family breaking apart. I'm getting divorced. I'm gaining weight. I'm broke. Dismiss all that. Pick one thing and tell yourself you're gonna do it for the rest of your life. That's how I got to this point, bro. And I know this point ain't the Mount Everest of all of my achievements, but goddamn it, I'm proud of myself. For all this hard work, all this consistency that I've been putting in over a year and a half of getting myself to this point, it's because I believed in myself. And because I believed in myself, you guys chose to subscribe, and I appreciate y'all for that. I mean, even the trolls, even the haters, because not everybody that subscribes to my channel loves me, you know what I mean? But nonetheless, I appreciate y'all, bro, because y'all recognize real, y'all recognize consistency. And without consistency, I wouldn't be here today, man. So if you're watching this, whatever it is that you want to do, bro, just pick one niche and just tell yourself, I'm gonna do this for the rest of my life, and I'm gonna figure the rest of this shit out. That's how it go, bro. I ain't special. I didn't reinvent the wheel. I didn't introduce sliced bread to the universe. I mean, I took a lane that was already there and I made it mine. This is my road. This is my path to success. And I'm gonna get to where I'm going. So just believe that. You know what I mean? So you might as well subscribe now. And for those that already subscribed, just know I appreciate y'all, man. Because it's all love at the end of the day. I know I talk my smoke, but at the end of the day, we just reacting to videos. You know what I mean? I just wanted to take the time to just say, I love me some me. I love me some me, man. But yo, sucked into an oil pipe? The Paria Diving Disaster. Now, if you ask me, who knows how we gonna die? We don't know how we came into this world, and we certainly don't know how we finna leave this bitch. Apparently, these guys got sucked into an oil pipe, and apparently it was a disaster. I'll be the first one to tell you, bro, I don't wanna go out the worst way. I think the very few of us that are so happen to be lucky, we go out in our sleep, but to get sucked into an oil pipe. How did we get to this point in life where this is how we go out? We're gonna get right into it.
To a 30-inch pipe in a tornado of water, tools and men rushing along underwater in the dark without completely understanding what was happening to you. Holding your breath, with the certainty that you would drown in just moments. Only one of the 5 men sucked into the pipeline that day would live to tell what happened. A GoPro video camera attached to one of the diver's suits recorded video and audio of what happened next. What it reveals is terrifying. This is the fatal breakdown of the Paria Diving Disaster. February 25th, 2022 began as a normal day of work.
This happened just last year.
Diving in Pointe-à-Pierre. They were to perform some maintenance tasks on a pipeline for Paria Fuel, a government-owned oil company in Trinidad and Tobago. As professional divers, for Kazim Ali Jr., Yusuf Henry, Faisal Kurban, Rishi Nagasar, and Chris Boudram, it was just another day of work. They would be working on a section of pipe that was not in current use. It was a U-shaped pipeline between the area where an oil tanker would pull up to offload its oil, called berth 5, and the area where the oil enters the refinery, called berth 6. In order to perform their work for the day, they would have to separate the pipe from the ocean water to access the areas that needed repair. To do this, they placed a special habitat bell over the top of the pipe. This system would allow the water to be pushed down off the pipe so they could have a dry place to work. The habitat was an 8-foot by 8-foot cube structure placed over the top part of the pipe. After air is blown inside to displace the water, the men could stand on the ledge to perform their work in a hyperbaric chamber. This allowed them to remove their diving gear and safely use tools to perform complex repairs and maneuvers as a group. One of the tasks they had to complete was the removal of an inflatable plug at berth 6. This plug had been inserted almost 2 weeks before to protect the oil contents of the pipe and stop any hydrocarbons from escaping. This plug was an airtight barrier that held tightly against the pressure pushing down from the habitat chamber. A wrench was retrieved in order to loosen the valve on the plug. Kazim Ali passed the wrench up to the 4 men working around the pipe. Then he pulled himself up onto the ledge to remove his diving equipment. As soon as the valve was opened, a shocking force immediately overtook the group. Water rushed into the habitat and down into the pipe. This instant flush of water pulled the men and all of their equipment into a tornado of water swirling down the pipeline. It was...
Ain't that some shit? The things that people sign up for? This job, I didn't even know this job existed. You know what I mean? Like, how do you even apply for this? This ain't something you just finding on Craigslist, bro. And just when you want to ask yourself, how do certain things function? You know, how do we get to this point where this is how these 5 men get deceased? Like, I didn't even know this job existed. So, like, look at how they're about to go out.
Unexpected that they barely understood what was actually happening to them. In such an unlucky moment, They were extremely fortunate to settle from the water in a spot that had an air pocket for breathing. The GoPro video captured the men in the moments just before being sucked in, then everything went completely black. As you hear the rustling and movement, it's shocking to hear them start to talk. They were actually shouting at each other within this pipe that was supposed to be full of crude oil. The horrible irony is that this air that was allowing them to breathe was actually the cause of the swirling water tornado that brought them here. So how exactly did this happen? The inflatable plug that they were removing was supposed to be separating 1,200 barrels of oil from the air and ocean water around it. In that case, it would have been a matter of routine to remove the plug and proceed with their work plan. The air pressure in the habitat would have been pressing down on a heavy column of oil. The oil would have been settled level between the two pipe openings at berth 5 and 6. Nothing out of the ordinary. Unfortunately, they had no idea that there was a column of air under that plug, and a lot less oil in the length of the pipe. As soon as the plug was deflated, the high-pressure air from the habitat rushed down the pipe with such force, it pulled the men, their tool and scuba tanks, into the 30-inch pipeline.
I would have been holding on to
The habitat
something.
pressure was suddenly released. The ocean water violently pushed inside and swirled into the pipe with the men. In a wild swirl of air, ocean water and tools were 5 men
Yeah, ain't no
fighting
holding
for
on to
breath.
anything. Forget it.
After what must have felt like an eternity, the swirling settled, and they found themselves in a pocket of air. Chris Boudrum, the lone survivor, described the unthinkable moment of being sucked into an oil pipeline like this.
Tornado, everything just spinning and beating you up and tapping so fast, you couldn't react. After that, all I remember, I didn't even remember actually getting pulled in the pipe. I just remember going hurled through the pipe at unbelievable speeds. I couldn't hold my breath.
Nah, gang. Nah, gang. No. My son said I couldn't even remember actually getting pulled. It happened like this. Like, and this is what I'm saying. They ain't enough money. This is why I'm trying to get paid to just talk to the camera. You know what I mean? All this working with my hands nonsense. Cut the cap. You know what I mean? Because the owner of this oil rink or whatever, he chilling somewhere in Hawaii. You know what I mean? Where it's like 90 degrees, drinking a margarita. You know what I mean? Maybe a little pina colada. He ain't out here on the field with these guys. You are not getting paid close enough to what you think your life is worth. You know what I mean? These guys signed up for a check. And listen to this torment.
Breath no longer, man. Truth. And you holding your breath for too long.
Bring it back a little.
Pulled in the pipe. I just remember going hurled through the pipe at unbelievable speeds. I couldn't hold my breath no longer, man. Truth. And you holding your breath for too long. After a while, your body, your lungs just fight. Yeah, your waist closed, you see a noise. Your body suffering to pull air. An unbelievable nightmare. Your eyes burning. Every time you try to open your eyes, it's burning. You're pitch black, you can't see nothing. Your throat burning. Your ears ringing. Your body
I'm not even trying to laugh.
sore.
The
And
accent
at
got
that
me.
point, I tell myself I was going to dead.
Once they stopped,
12.
the men took a quick inventory of where they were, how they were feeling, and whether all 5 men had made it. They began shouting back and forth to find each other and confirm that they truly were inside the pipe together. It was just so unbelievable, but it was the awful reality. Trying to comprehend where they were in the pipeline was a lot harder than it seems. They were completely disoriented and had no idea how far they'd moved down the pipe. This pipeline section was 1,200 feet long as 4 football fields. The pipe had undulations at weld seams
I would've
where
been
supports
cooked.
were placed. These variations in elevation allowed air pockets to form. Once they got their bearings, it was clear that they were all battered, but alive. In all the disorientation, they weren't in agreement as to which direction would lead them back to berth 6. After some discussion, they decided to link together and shuffle as a group toward one of the ends. The entire pipe was coated with thick, slippery oil sludge. It was exhausting to keep fighting against the oil and barely moving while dealing with broken bones, battered organs, oil in their eyes and nostrils, and all of this in complete darkness. At some point, after struggling for an hour, they
And you think this is worth a check? Granted, this is worst case scenario. Obviously, they're not signing up to get stuck in the middle of an oil pipe. But this is worst case scenario. You think a check is worth this shit, man? Hell nah. Hell no, like this shit sound wild, man.
encountered a shocking problem. The seawater level was rising. They were holding their heads above the water, but the first in line noticed that his face was now only 6 inches from the top of the pipe. There was no way to continue like this. Some of the men were seriously hurt and wouldn't be able to move much longer anyway. Chris Boudram and Kazim Ali were the first two leading the group. The other men, Yusuf, Faisal, and Rishi, were the next 3 in the pipe. It was decided that Chris and Kazim would try to hold their breath and see if they could find another pocket of air. They promised the men that they would fight to get out and return with help for everyone. The 2 men held their faces high in the water for as long as possible, then held their breath to swim forward looking for air. Their struggle brought them to a second pocket of air, closer to the riser pipe that might lead them out. They were ecstatic to find 2 of their scuba tanks resting in this section. It felt like this was all they needed to make their escape. They almost used both bottles of oxygen to move through the next section, but Kazim's injuries were getting more serious, and he wasn't able to move quickly. Together, they decided that it would be best for Chris to take what was left of the oxygen and make a swim for the end of the pipe to get help. He placed the tank in front of his body and pushed it along as he squeezed forward in a narrow 2.5-foot tube. When he got to the riser end of the pipe, he was struck with a frightening thought. What if this was berth 5 and not berth 6? He would swim up nearly 60 feet and simply run into an inflated plug. There would be no air, and his tank was almost empty. He said a prayer and pushed off the bottom to make his way to the surface. After more than 2 hours in the pipe, Chris was relieved to find he had reached the top of the oily water at berth 6. He banged and screamed to try to get the attention of the rest of the ship team. One of the searchers finally found him and helped him climb out with a chain. Chris was overwhelmed and exhausted. He explained that there were air pockets in the line and that all the men were still alive. He was rushed to the hospital after letting rescuers know that there was air and that they were hurt, but alive. Up until this point, the other members of LMCS weren't sure that they could even be alive. They assumed that the pipe was full of oil and the men would have drowned in minutes. They also knew that any oxygen tanks would last up to an hour each. It had been more than 2 hours since the men had been sucked into the pipeline, but finally, this was a glimmer of hope. Once Chris explained the situation, divers in the water tapped on the pipe in different locations and received a tapping response from inside. The trapped men must have felt overwhelming relief that someone knows that they are inside. They knew that professional divers and equipment of all kinds would be out on the ship above them. Oxygen tanks, rope, lights, help. Hour after hour, they waited to see a glimmer of light or hear the metal clang of oxygen tanks coming down. But they saw nothing. They heard nothing.
This ain't even one of the stories you want to hear if you're claustrophobic, son. You're someone that can't handle tight spaces. We're talking about stuck in a pipe with thick ass pieces of oil and you're surrounded by darkness. You don't know the difference between your left or your right hand because you can't see shit. Like, this is torture. Torture, bro. I ain't gonna front, man.
Not only were they suffering with their injuries sustained in the initial flush, they now struggled to breathe the acrid, oily air. Each hour increased the carbon dioxide content of this limited air supply, so breathing would become more and more challenging. And so they waited. No matter how the debacle of the non-rescue came about, it is a desperately sad reality that these men were just a few hundred feet from salvation, but no one ever came. They struggled in pain, knocked for attention, and attempted to move themselves to the exit. It must have been a crushing realization after days stuck in the oily pipe. No one was coming. The actions taken by LMCS, Paria Fuel, their sister company Heritage, and the Coast Guard are much debated. It is claimed by some that Paria prevented divers from entering the pipe to save the other men. Paria claims that there was no viable plan to get the men out without risking more lives.
This is the shit I'm talking about. There you have it, bro. There you have it, man. These be the billion-dollar companies that sit here and look for people to do all the heavy lifting. They look for the blue-collar workers. You know, the sacrificial lambs. And you know how they always say, don't ever fall in love with a job that don't belong to you, man. Because at the end of the day, they're paying you to forget about your dreams. These men signed up for this, and you would have thought the organization or the company that hired them will look out for their safety and their best interest. But
Paria claims that there was no viable plan to get the men out without risking more lives. Some believed that the men were certainly dead, and the banging was from something else. The Coast Guard, LMCS, and family members who were professional divers All have their own version of the events. The facts that cannot be denied are these. 4 men were alive at 5 o'clock on Friday when Chris Boudrum was rescued. Many people agree that they heard banging on the pipes from inside for nearly 48 hours before it stopped. After the bodies had been recovered, 2 autopsies were performed. Though the autopsies did not agree on the time of death, it was clear that all the men lived until various times on Saturday, and some appear to have lived until Monday. We are not sure if the men succumbed to their injuries, or ran out of breathable air, or even drowned trying to swim to one of the pipe exits.
Some of these, yo, they went in on Friday, bro. They got stuck on Friday. Autopsies believe that some of them could have lasted till Monday. Oh my God, bro. You're stuck in a dark pipe where you can't even open your eyes for 3 days. And that's just the will of a survivor, bro. That's just the human body. The human body can endure a lot of shit that we don't even think we're capable of until your survivor instincts has to come in. Like, you could fight and you could crawl, but like, I mean, once you run out of air, you run out of air. It is what it is. But to be stuck in that condition for 3 days and be still trying to fight for life just for no help to ever come.
A commission of inquiry was formed in Trinidad and Tobago. Their findings are scheduled to be released in August of 2023.
Because everything inside me open and rescue, you know?
Damn, gang.
Everything inside me open and rescue was going on. Nobody was making an attempt to rescue me.
This shit, I don't take any day for granted, man. I don't take any day for granted. And it's my 1001 rule. I tell you that shit all the time, man. Like, we spend our lives committing the worst habits, you know, for 1,000 days, and it's that 1001 day. Now, granted, this wasn't a bad habit, but this just kind of shines a light on just, you never know when your final moments are. You never know when you live in your final moments. This is probably something they've been doing, you know, they've had this job for a couple of months or maybe a couple of years. Professional swimmers, they're used to being in the depths of the ocean. They're comfortable. This is what they do for a living. They're not thinking this is going to be the last day that they ever see surface. You know what I mean? Like, when you go into water, you're not thinking you're never going to see surface again. Damn, this shit is horrifying to go out like that, man. I'll take no days for granted, bro. Never. I understand somebody got to do it. Couldn't be me, though. Couldn't be me. I ain't signing up for this. Hell no. Hell no. Oh, wow.
I trying to come up. General. Yeah. Yeah. Right behind you, man. All right behind you? You're right behind me? Yeah.
Wow.
You don't know when you're trying to come up? It's not coming up. Who making all that noise? Come on, all that we let's figure it out. We gotta go. We gotta start moving.
Damn, gang.
Yeah. Where you at? I don't know. I'm trying to come up. Trying to come up.
And it's like, you don't even realize how time, like they're on such a time restriction where every breath counts. They probably shouldn't even be talking right now because they need the oxygen, but you just don't know what the hell is going on. You're just trying to get yourself out of there, bro. Damn, these are really, they find moments like this.
Can't for you. Right there. Right there, where? Can't. Everything all right with you? No. Any elements break? All leg. Your leg, all right. 5. Anything happen to you? Yeah. A 5? No way. Yusuf, anything happen to you? Yeah, boy. What happened? What happened, break? Alright.
And to think, nobody came. Nobody came, yo. Oh my gosh. 5 guys go in, 1 comes out. And you hear the injuries, you hear the damage, you hear like the confusion of what's going on. And it's like, bro, this is probably one of the worst horror death stories I've ever heard, considering the fact that they have audio, bro. To go out like that, man, where no help is on the rise. No help is coming. The only time they coming is to recover your body, bro. So no one was prepared for this. This multi-billion-dollar company that got human beings doing this shit. Nobody came. Man, that lawsuit would have been thicker than a bad bitch, man. What? Man, listen. But yeah, man, wow. That one kind of got me. That shit woke me up. I ain't gonna hold you, man. I'm gonna holler at you guys next video. Hit the like and subscribe button for more content, man. RP to these souls, man. And that dude that survived, man, you thank your lucky stars, bro. Thank your lucky stars. Yikes. My bad.